So, come and stay in my tour bus. Despite a very good party in the evening and the barbecue and all the friends coming round, this was my accommodation for the night. 1978 school bus that had been renovated and kind of kept on the road, I think, kept alive with a tar brush and some black paint. And that was my bed for the night. One of the issues with this, it's got fly screens on the top here, but right at the very bottom of this bus, they opened the door and they got a 4-foot industrial fan on 3 pallets, and that was my aircon. It was steamy, it was hot and full of flies, and I got bitten to death. But you know, it was a free bed, so it was nice. But anyway, you head north from Manchester in Michigan, and there's a boat that goes over the Lake Michigan, a ferry. On the way, I kept saying this signs for dune rides. So I was thinking, yeah, that sounds like interesting. So you come off the main highway, you go down to the coast, and then there's this guy who'd taken over something like 300 acres of dunes in the 1960s, and he had these dune rides. This truck was looking at now is a 4x4 Chevy or something that sits about 16 people, and you wouldn't have thought Lake Michigan had dunes, but it does. This is the kind of ride you get. It's not fast, it's not, it's not furious, but very interesting. And they show you how Lake Michigan's taking over the ground with all the sand that comes off it. So Lake Michigan's the size of the sea. It's a big thing. It's got its tides and everything. You know, it's quite an interesting little $20, I think, or not, wasn't it? Not $18, I think it was for an hour. So yeah, again, you know, something that's worth doing. What I didn't know was about a mile down the road, there's a place actually renting out dune buggies. You know, these like sand rails. You can rent the sand rail for the day and put it off yourself on there. I thought, well, I missed that. It's okay. It's by the by. There's me stood in Lake Michigan. So anyway, next morning, this is a place called Ludington. Next morning, I'm first in the queue. The ship you can see here is the other one. They are coal-fired steamships. There's only 2 left. That one is stood there being used for spare parts for the SS Badger, which is still going. So they're using that for spare parts. Anyway, first in the queue, $114 or something to get over the lake, took 4.5 hours. Here it's quite warm, it's about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. When you get on the lake, it's bloody freezing, because it's like being out at sea. When you get to the other side in a place called Matty-Tonawaka or something, it's still cold. You come off the boat and you pull up in the lay-by and get all your gear on because it's freezing. And then 1 mile inland, it's red hot again. You kind of climb up the side of this hill, and on top of that hill it's red hot. That's the lighthouse going over Lake Michigan. A lake, you should be able to see the other side of a lake, shouldn't you really? If it's a lake, you can see the other side. I'm not that big, it's just ginormous. So where am I? I'm up at P. You can see the altar P. And I said I'm not doing those in the south there. There's about 7 in total I couldn't get to. So I just carried on west now, looking for South Dakota. South Dakota, if you go back to the first few slides, I mentioned the fact it got blown away in a hurricane. And I just wanted to go and see it. I thought there must be something there to commemorate this town that got completely wiped out by a hurricane. And to this day, I don't know whether I passed it or not, because I don't think they had any commemoration. I think I just passed it and that was the end of it. Silly roads. This was like 10 by 6 bits of concrete that were like put together with black duct tape or something. That was about 12 miles of that. It's like that just drove me crazy, so I thought I'd do. Stopped with a guy called Troy, who again, Facebook, come over, we'll put you up for the night. So I turn up into the town, which is near Manchester, Tamikawaki, what it's called. And he was at work, so I couldn't get hold of him. I was about to carry on when the phone suddenly rang. So I went over, he said, right, so tonight we're going to eat wings, and we're going to go throwing hoops. Is that okay? I said, whatever. You know what I mean? So eating wings, I mean the funny thing in America, a lot of the Americans in that area seem to eat nothing but meat. So a plate of wings is a tray this big, and the wings are like that, it's spicy wings, and that's it. Nothing else with it at all. And he went through these things like this, sucking strawberries. And so went to do that, and then went to throw hoops, which is like it's actually a square horseshoe or a stick at either end of a sand pit, and you throw the hoop on the stick. 3 or 4 hours of that. Yeah, and then back to his place, and got all his mates round and drank beer till early hours. Again, en route, there is a link which I tried to play on in the early days of the project. President Lincoln, there might be major problems in the cotton industry going back to the 1800s. The cotton industry was falling to pieces in the UK because there was no cotton coming out of America. And President Lincoln actually wrote a letter to Manchester saying, "I do apologise for the situation. You know, we hope to get everything back to normal pretty soon." And so you go to Manchester, there is a very similar statue in Manchester. There's a Lincoln Square, and there is history about this association with Lincoln. So again, I'm passing Lincoln's hometown, you know, so you go in there and have a look. Lincoln's house was advertised. This is 5 o'clock at night, everything was closed. But just down the road, apparently, there was Lincoln's original house. Or no, I didn't say original. Visit Lincoln's house. So you go down to this park, and there's a little sort of cave thing, apparently, where he used to live when he first got there. And then up on the hill there's the Parthenon. Inside the Parthenon is Lincoln's house. So you go up there, it's a wooden hut, like, you know, wattle and daub thing. So you walk in the gap, they get a little fat man sat there with doing his security bit. So I said to him, "How did we get it in here?" So it must have been lowered down, because this thing's up on a plinth, you know. Well, it's not the original house. It just looks like it. Typical American.
Yeah.
A little bit more video like that. This is left-hand filming. And here's this off the radio on the bike. Good bits for the film. Always try and get the Bennett's badge in, you know, just to keep it brownie points. All matters. I actually took this video in a place where, just not far from where I stopped videoing, there was a sign about 6 foot square, yellow, diamond, with a bump. Oh, traffic calming measures. So we arrive at the first one and go, "Ooh, oh, nothing wrong with that." Arrive at the second one, "Ooh, nothing wrong with that." So, someone busy. And you thought, that's it, that must be what they have. They have, you know, they're trying to slow traffic down a little bit, but they're not too concerned because most of these pickup trucks have got no suspension. So, and when I get a bit further down the road, I actually should have turned left and I missed the junction. So I turned round and came back to this junction, again over a little hump. And I set off up a hill. And it was quite a long hill, about a mile long. And right at the top of the hill, what I didn't know was the top at the time, was another sign, exactly the same. Big yellow sign with a black hump. What I didn't know was it was actually a humpback bridge that went down about 6 foot on the other side. Because you think it's the same, don't you? And so I'm doing about 55, 60 mile an hour. And gold wings do fly. Another scary moment, bloody hell. Just throwing a knob joke. I thought it's just in case you're getting bored. That's the only time, ladies, that your man will swallow a nut spit. So anyway, I'm heading west now. I've got a long way to go between the Manchesters. As I said before, we're looking at 5, 6, 7, 800 miles per Manchester. So the actual getting to the Manchester now is becoming less important. It's now a case of getting to San Francisco by the 18th of June, because I'm running out of time. So anyway, I've got Sturgis in the way. Oh, this happened. This is another one. 2 things happened on this Wren road. I've gone past this log as it fell over. So that happened just as I passed it. I wasn't going that fast. It wasn't the wind or anything, but I actually heard it. And I wasn't going fast. It was quite a windy road. But as I passed it, I heard this clong. I go, look in your mirrors, and that's across the road. And just a tree fell over. And I stopped to try and move it around the way, and a car came past it. Oh, don't bother that, somebody will shift it. You know. But they do the same with moose up in the northeast. you'll see a dead moose at the side of the road, and it's about 4 times bigger than it was 3 weeks ago. Nobody shifts them. They stink. It's a horrible, horrible smell. Stop for breakfast. So I had a choice of meatloaf, frog's legs, tater tots. What bloody hell's a tater tot? I don't know. What was this? This is breakfast time, so I had a nice little breakfast. And there's the lady who served it for me. Shouldn't really show that.
Yeah, I do.
My flag on the aerial was basically being spread slowly but surely across America. It started off as a 2-bit eBay buy. Stuck it on the aerial, and as I'm going along, of course 100 mile an hour doesn't help. But it's nice to think a little bit of England is spread all over the US by this time. As you're going along Highway 90, which basically goes from east to west, it's a bit like Route 66, but it's not as old. You see signs like free iced water, World Drug. Then another mile or two, you'll see coffee, 1 cent, World Drug. Then you'll see fish and chips, World Drug. And these signs are like old style signs. But they actually go on for over 200 miles. This is marketing at its best as far as I'm concerned. When they built the Highway 90 in the 1950s, this family had just recently bought a drugstore in a little town called Wall. The only problem was that Wall was now 2 miles down the road from the highway. So their business was going downhill very quickly. So they put signs up on the road. This is 1950s, refrigerators weren't that common then. So they had a fridge, they could offer people a free glass of iced water if they called into the drugstore. They actually had a square quarter of a mile in this little village called Wall. And when you get there, everything's a bit over the top now, a bit Blackpool. But I thought it was a good little story, because that is marketing at its best. All these signs for literally 200 miles, you just keep seeing them, nobody, you don't know what it, I don't even know what Wall Drug was. I mean, it's just, Wall is a place. Now then, you're going on the Highway 90 in Wyoming. And Wyoming is one of these places where they talk about the big skies in America. You can see the curvature of the earth. It's just grassland forever. And what struck me about the Wyoming area, Montana, places like that, was those geezers that were spreading themselves across America in the 16, 17, 1800s. They're looking tough cookies, because there's literally nothing there. And then you go along the top of this plateau for months and months and probably years on end. And then suddenly, you come to the 2 tectonic plates of America, where the 2 sort of continents meet. And there's a place called the Badlands, and I think they call it the Badlands because they've got a horse and carriage and 15 kids by then. And it's a 1,200-foot drop in the mountain. And they've made a road down it over the years, and of course that's a nice little road to drive. What you get is this sort of pink and white, it's not a very good picture, but pink and white striped rock formation, and the road comes down that. And then that was the best looking girl I'd seen for nearly a month. It sounds crazy, but I wasn't in the cities, I was in the countryside, so I did say again, can I take a photograph? That's by the by. Highway 240, the Badlands. Again, it's a biker haven, it's one of those roads that people go to. But within that area, you can do an awful lot. You can go to Sturgis, you can go to the Badlands, there's various sort of areas you could visit on a decent bike holiday. And then once again, you're back into straight roads in weather. I made a mistake, I should have gone back up the Badlands Road and back onto Highway 90. I carried on the road I was on and ended up in the Indian reservation. They're very kindly giving Indians that bit to play with.
Nice fun.
Went to Sturgis. Sturgis was shut, basically, it's a small town. They were getting ready for the big event a couple of weeks later. Again, getting the brownie points, and managed to put a Bennett's badge on the old sign there and took a photograph. And then...
Play the back dance.
Devil's Tower was another sign I saw off Highway 90. And of course you recognise it as Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And that is the weirdest thing you've ever seen in your life. It looks like a tree stump, except it's 1,267 feet high, and there's a mile round the bottom. So even there, I'm a good half a mile away from it. And typical of America, they've made it very, very sort of comfy for the big Winnebago trucks and the trailers and everyone comes. So you arrive at the visitor centre. Apparently, it's not what it seems. It is a volcanic tower, but the land would have been at that height at some point, and it's all worn away over the years. This is in the evening, early evening. It's a good 40 miles off the highway. Went to see it in a bit, and then I went to a hotel around the corner, just literally a mile away was a hotel, which was the best Western, and the only best Western in the world that's made entirely out of wood, because it is a wooded area. But I say, strange place, really weird. So then I'm off again, and then next day I end up in a place called Livingston. Now, someone's been to the Yellowstone, is it yourself? Someone's been to Yellowstone over there. When you're at this little town called Livingston, you look down to the mountains and you see this great big gouge out in the mountains, and that is the entrance to Yellowstone Park. Again, I'm on a mission now. I can't stop, so I should have gone to the Yellowstone, and I thought one day I'll come back with my good lady, perhaps, and we can go and do it on in a car or a bike or whatever. But I met these young kids in the restaurant, fish and chips for the first time in a month, and then the next day I rode from Livingston, Montana, to Washington, Manchester in Washington State, which was 749 miles in 13 hours with 6 tanks of petrol in 3 states. Why? Because on Friday night I was honouring guest for a party in the Manchester bar in Manchester, WA. Actually, I was the honorary guest on Saturday, but I got the days wrong. So I did this big silly thing. Again, into the mountains, into the cold. You're heading into a mountain range that's got snow on it even in June, and you're thinking, crap, how cold are you going to get before I get there, you know. So I arrived, that's my flag now. This is just a 10-minute break just to get my legs together and rebuild my head. I'll say the flag's getting a bit tatty by this time. Despite being on the road now for about 13 hours, I look pretty fresh. You know, this is the Puget Sound over from Seattle to the island on the other side of the peninsula. It's $4 for nearly an hour's ferry, which just puts it into perspective when you go over to France, doesn't it? I arrived at the Manchester pub where Mr. Jack Leninger was going to put me up for the weekend. Him with his wife, I managed to get a waterbed from their spare bedroom, which I thought was a bit of an oddity. I was a bit worried for a few minutes, you know, when you first get there. But I say the Manchester pub were fantastic. They looked after me really well. Did the old welcome to Manchester thing at the sign, and on Saturday night, oh, this thing turned up on Saturday. There's no MOT in Manchester, Washington State. That thing had the best engine I've ever heard in my life. It was like a singer-song machine. It was beautiful. That totally road legal over there. It's a bit of a mismatch, but what I do like is just above the tyre there, you'll see a big copper circle. That's an old school bell. That's his horn. I ended up playing the harmonica in the open mic night in a couple of hours. So, what's the big road in America? It's the Pan American, what we call it, like the Coast Road, Highway 1. This is going down from Manchester, Washington, right down to as far as you want to go. But I was going to San Francisco. Beautiful road. You do end up, being engulfed in the old Bigfoot legend. So I say it's a beautiful road. The problem with it is that there's a slight issue, even we're talking about now, 12th, 13th of June, you get this mist coming off the sea, which basically is a bit like fog, so you can only see a certain amount of distance anyway. It is a good, the tarmac's not particularly good, but you've got this thing going on, it's the American Coast Road, brilliant, fantastic. But after about 2 days, you think, I'm sick of this now, it's a straight bit again, But you do get down to the Bigfoot area, which is the Redwood Highway. And you've never seen trees as big as these. I mean, that is the biggest one, 269 feet high, approximately 1,800 years old. Diameter is 24 feet. I arrived at this, again, it's a tourist trap, so there's a lot of stuff around it. I arrived just as they were closing it, and the lady literally said, "Oh, help yourself," and drove off. There was no gate on it, it was just a couple of barriers across the front, so I took a photograph and went, but this was just, that is one tree. It's just, but that's not, I mean, half of that is probably normal down there. As you're driving down the highway, the road kind of sweeps through the trees, and you just can't comprehend how big they are. Obviously, they've been wise in the old days and kept the good ones, But at the same time, it's such a big forest, that area, that you will see these 70-ton trucks going down there, just loaded to the hill with tree, with wood, proper redwood, So they're still harvesting it, despite the fact it's a national park. A bit further down, at this little place for my breakfast. Won't you mind that over here? Just a typical, again, typical. And I met Lawrence. Lawrence was of the fraternal crew of elks or something they call themselves. And again, he had English heritage. Again. He sat there and chatted and chatted and chatted. I had breakfast with him because he was such an interesting guy. And he talked about America and talked about how the American psyche is and why people came over to America. And I've got a short video of that which is on YouTube if I find my thing. Just such an interesting guy. But when I actually we swapped badges, we swapped an American badge for an English pin badge. I was there for about 25-30 minutes, and he actually invited me to Flag Day, which was the honouring of the American flag. And again, I was in a rush, so I just said, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. It's one of those things you regret, you know, because he was such a nice old geezer. I actually contacted him since I've been back, so it's been quite nice. And, Highway 1. Oh, let's call Yacht Chits. Yeah, this is where I stopped for the night. So I booked into a hotel, walked down to the local bar, and met Bob Carol G's, Spit the Dog. Or is it Paul Holroyd?
Looks like Paul.
Yeah, looks like Paul Holroyd. So he's the owner of the bar. Sat on my side of the bar.
Spit the Dog.
Dale Winton, and I saw Bin Laden. That was a good night chat. So anyway, 16th of June 2011, at 8 o'clock at night, I parked up and took a photograph of the sunset because I'd reached the last one, Manchester, California. 25 out of 33. I couldn't get to them all. I'd actually gone past the hotel about 13 miles down the road. It was 13 miles because I stopped at the hotel to ask where Manchester was because I couldn't find it on the map. And the lady behind the bar said, it's 13 miles down the road, but it's a really bad road. You've got to be careful at this time of the day. It's, you know, getting near evening now. You'll have elks and deers and all sorts of things jumping over the walls at you. So she said, you better do it tomorrow. I said, no, I can't do it tomorrow, I've got to do it tonight. So I said, right. I said, is there any hotels down there? She went, no, there's a post office and a mart, as they call it, a little shop. And the Civic Hall, that's all there is. The next hotel's 70 miles further down the road. So I said, right, okay. I said, right, I'll stop here the night. I said, there's my debit card. I said, well, I'll have that for my tea. What time do you stop service? At 9 o'clock. I said, right, have that on the bar at 9 o'clock. I said, I'll see you. So I took on my bike, shot down this, the best bit of road I've been on all day. Got to this bit, took my photograph, got back on the bike and shot back. I walked into the bar and went, I sat down at the bar. I said, a pint of beer, just give me a pint of beer. And this guy next to me went, you've not been to Manchester? I said, I have. I said, it's impossible. I said, look at this then. I showed him a picture on my photo on the camera. What the hell is what you on? I said, oh, come to Goldwing 1800. I said, even that, you couldn't get there and back in that time. I said, well, I did it. So anyway, end of the story. I was sat in the bar, had my tea. I've still got my gear on. I've not even seen my room yet. And in the corner over there, I can hear this voice, it's not American. And I think, that's not easy. So I wandered across as you do, nonchalantly, you know, the camera. And there's a thing there with all leaflets for the local sites. And this guy's chatting to this lady. I went, you're not from round here. They went, neither are you. I said, where are you from? He said, Wigan.
Wasn't me.
So anyway, that's it really. My next morning I took a photograph at the local post office. I took my flag, what was left of my flag, and one of my leaflets, the leaflet you saw me ticking off the Manchesters, I wrote on the back of it a little bit to the American people basically, and I hid it at the back of the Manchester sign, wired it up, got it in there so one day somebody will find it. So that's my little flag done. That's just that. But behind the sign, I just saw this and took a bit of video, and I just thought it looked so nice. But then I started talking, spoiled it. So that is the back of the last sign for American Manchester I'll probably ever see. And in the top left-hand corner, the bottom left-hand corner of that sign, you might see a little black shape. That little shape is the plastic pop bottle, water bottle. I'll start again. I'm emotional, you know what I mean? Yeah, you finished.
Gary.
Dave, that's it a little bit, nobody understands, you know.
Manchester, California. The sign, the back of the sign, you can see there, is the last of the Manchester signs I'll probably see. And if you look closely, in the bottom left-hand corner of the sign is a little black shape. That is where I've left my Union Jack with a plastic bottle. I guess we'll find it. I'll find out after I've gone. So hopefully it'll be a few months before some gets to get full of a cold. It's Wednesday lunchtime. It's cold. Well, no, it's not cold, that's not true. It's cool.
Sorry, emotional.
Right, there it is. The very last Manchester sign is Manchester, California. Population 462. It was 463 for an hour, but I'm now leaving. Just behind that sign, on the bottom right-hand corner, as you look at it.
Won't tell us the bottle.
The bottom right-hand side, roughly where the elevation 120 is a plastic water bottle that contains a letter from to America from Manchester, England. And also it contained what's left of the Union Jack that's chased me across the US, leaving little threads of England behind on the way. I'm about to walk down to the bike now. Today I've got to take all the stickers off, return the bike to some kind of normality. It's been fantastic. Yes, they're big. Yes, they're thirsty. But what a bike. It's taken me through gravel traps, it's taken me through hairpin bends, over mountains, through the hellish rain in New York State, to the scorching heat of Alabama. The bike's managed, and it's kept me going. I can't think of another bike I would rather do. If I had to do 500 miles or on one occasion 750 miles in a day, I can't think of a better bike to do it on. Yes, there are lighter bikes. Yes, I miss my GS back at home. But good old Rubish, done well. Ruby Red. Honda Goldwing 1800.
So, I'll give the exact mileage. From Manchester, California to San Francisco is 101 miles. In that week, I'd actually done 1,400, so it gives you an idea of how far down it is. Golden Gate Bridge, of course. I actually got to San Francisco a night early. The bike was due back in the following day, not the day I arrived. And as I mentioned right at the very start of this presentation, the company had said to me, if I leave a week early, I get back a week early, and on the Sunday is the Manchester Parade. So after a 15-hour flight from San Francisco, I arrived back at home at about 9 o'clock on Friday night or Saturday night, Friday night, and the parade was on Saturday morning. So at 9 o'clock Saturday morning, I got my bike out of the garage, taken it into Manchester, got in the back of my bit in the parade, if you like, which was like 2/3 of the way down this mile-long queue of people, to be told that I couldn't ride the bike because the health and safety officer didn't want me to. Can I push it? So the only place I'm going to push it is round in a circle to go home. So this girl said to me, said to the girl from Bennett's actually, she said, is he a good rider? He's just done 8,500 miles in 31 days, I think he's pretty good. He might be a bit tired. But I don't remember anything about that because I was so bloody jet lagged. I was out of it. Within the week, so this was Saturday, by the following Friday night I was on the One Show after another week of crazy PR stuff. Did a bit on the One Show. And basically that's the end. The end, 8,525 miles and 25 Manchesters in 31 days. Shortest day 4 miles to go to the shops for some water. Longest day 748. Is it an adventure? Yes, so I'm on my own. You know, everything's an adventure. Would I go back to America? Yes, I definitely would. If you if you can consider the cost of rental rather than selling your own bike as part of the deal, and obviously the flights and the rental is going to be, you know, £2,000 to £3,000, I guess, if you're going to stay there for a long time, then I would recommend the States for a couple of reasons. One is that there's no language barrier. Another reason is you can put up with the food. The coffee's crap. Take your own coffee, take your own tea bags, take your own coffee mate, that kind of stuff. The fast food problem is mainly in the east of the country. You know, there are thousands upon thousands of Dunkin' Donuts that profess to be the best coffee in America. You wouldn't water the bloody garden with it, to be honest. But would I go back? Yes, I go back tomorrow, and there's at least 7 matches that I didn't get to. I have written back to Benny's, but they haven't answered me. So that's it now. You can all wake up and bugger home. This was on Highway 1, by the way. It's a little bit. It's just one of the only time I left the camera at the side of the road and walked off on purpose.
Yeah.
Just in case you're interested, just after this next shot here, which eventually comes on, I've actually got the ride through Dragon's Tail. That's me going on. The next thing is about 14 minutes long, but you're really interested, you can watch it. I'll turn the volume down.
So what has Bennett's done since?
Well, you know, the odd thing is, I was going to say any questions, but one of the oddest parts of the whole thing was you get lost in this little mini celebrity thing. You know, I did 12 or 13 radio and TV interviews, you know, Bernard reports in the house and all the radio stations in the northwest. It's, you know, 3 visits to the BBC. So before you go, it's quite relevant. But also when you get back, there's another week of full PR. So of course, Bennett's are doing this to get their pennies worth out of me, because I think out of all the biker dreams they did, mine's the most expensive, but I also think I put the most into it as well. You know, I gave value for it in effect. So once the one show thing had actually finished, nothing. It all just dropped. I mean, literally from that day onwards. They dragged me down to London. I didn't show the video because it's pathetic, but they dragged me down to London. They stick me in the studio telling me I'm going to get interviewed. I end up stood behind a big board with a hole in it about here, size of a TV. Sat there where Andre sat is Angela Rippon, and the feature was called Rippon Britons. So I was in a queue of 4 or 5 people that had done something recently. Some old chap had done a wing walk, some girl had put lipstick on 300 people in an hour, all this kind of stuff. And that's all we got, basically. And I stood there, and because of the screens here, I just made a bit of a joke of it by going like that. But that was it. Pete Johnson did this. There's a photograph. That's what he did. That's what he did. Thank you. And the whole TV appearance was about, what, 20 seconds? 20 seconds, and that was it. He was back on the train back to Manchester. And then really, that was it. After that, there's nothing. And I said this to a lot of people, and I said this to Ian Coates, who we all heard of, you know, came back from his 14 years on the road and thinks he's a celebrity. He's a legend in his own mind, and that's all.
Yeah, he is.
You know, and I think that's the problem. You do get lost in that a little bit. So my trip was probably unique in the fact that it was sponsored. People planning a trip that think they're going to get sponsored, it ain't going to happen. But this is a word to everybody now. It's in the room. If you look on the should be telling this because I will say. If you look on the Harley Davidson website right now.
Right now, yeah.
They're looking for a rider. And, yeah, it's a similar thing to what I did. They're looking for someone to ride the Harley Davidson around Europe, and you get a salary, and you get the bike at the end of it.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
Always sell the bike.
Yeah.
You just got to persuade them that you're the man.
Will they get around without breaking down?
And that's a good question.
No,
To get you in trouble at
I
all.
won't do that. No, I won't do that.
So what's next then?
You know, Andrew, I wouldn't do that.
What's next?
Next, I've got a clue what's next. I'll tell you why. Because this, when it first happened, let's put it into perspective. I've got this secret website I set up, with the secret blog and the secret Facebook and the secret Twitter that nobody in the family knows about. And suddenly, I approached Sharon one day and said, I entered a competition and I've won, and I'm going to America for 14 weeks. Put it lightly. So there was a lot of persuasion going on between my good lady and I, but the funny thing was, the relevant thing I'm going to get to, is
Have you
whilst
taken her to Italy yet?
2 weeks before I left, a couple got back from America, where the wife had actually put, my biker dream is for my husband and I to ride Route 66 on a Harley. And Bennett's had just granted that. So I made the fatal mistake of not putting, my wife and I would like to drive to 33 Manchesters. So that's, you know, I've got to pay for that still. But I don't know, honestly, to answer your question, I don't know. I've got a million things in my head and only one or two more here.
I suppose the upside was you had all those Bennett skills in you as well.
Yeah.
Downside.
Last round, if you want one.
Finish now, Pete. We switch it off.
Let me just put this on.
Right.
Still getting us more the thing.
Even get it to work. Can't get it to the big. That's it, guys. That's finished. This is the dragon's tail. If you're interested. Why is this completely different on this computer?
Just beside the 28% at the bottom. Just beside the 28% bottom right hand side.
That's it.
Just on the left, go left.
There you go.
Left.
Still in America.
That's it, your slideshow. Now you should be able to play it. You should be able to play it, yeah.
I don't mind. It's all right. Let's see who gets to play.
Wait. Done it, lad.
This is the dragon's tail from start to finish.